Hello and welcome to Creative Minds Unpacked. In this podcast, I'll be seeking out stories, strategies, and support for creative people who are neurodivergent or those who dare to think boldly. For my guests, this is a safe space to pick apart the complexities of life, a place to share lived experience of feeling or thinking differently. Now is the time to break out of boxes and unpack our minds as we move forward into a brand new world. Hi James, I'm really glad that you agreed to do this as part of our podcast. You're obviously part of the team for Creative Minds Unpacked, and it's really great that you agreed to also come and speak about being a creative that thinks deeply and outside the box. So for the rest of the world, James is a local filmmaker I've worked with several times before. I've got to know him and his creative process and thinking quite well over the years. And we have a great time chatting together, often quite deeply. He's had a wealth of experience across the creative industries and arts and culture sector for the last 10 years, traveling to film events internationally, but more importantly, helping tell stories of many community-driven arts projects closer to our home. I'm really pleased to have him here working on this project with me. So thanks for doing this. So, we're in a funny time at the moment in our lives across the world, and I feel like it's sort of we're kind of in unprecedented territory almost, aren't we? So first of all, James, why did you want to work with me on this project to develop this podcast?
So I've had a great time already working on this project with you, filming a couple of really interesting talks that you had. I knew these would be great talks because we have great talks.
Yeah.
And I know your thinking. I think it's brilliant. It's very different. And it's, I appreciate it so much. It gives me so much of my thinking of what to think about. I realize I've said thinking a lot there.
We align well, don't we?
Yeah.
This, I think.
But in terms of like where we are now, I think as a creative, I'm starting to recognize just how valuable creativity is again. I mean, creativity has kind of always been the true currency of the world.
Yeah.
This is kind of, and now we come into systems which seem to be being challenged in some way. Mm-hmm. And different thinking is now, for me, I feel more essential than ever.
Yeah. That
we do think differently and we come up with creative ways and new ways to navigate ourselves. And the people around us really in a really positive way, and I think it can be. And I think the work that you're doing on this project, I've already seen some of the talks that have happened, and these are really encouraging, positive discussions that can only bring about good, really. And
I hope so. I think it's about like breaking out of those boxes a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just trying to have a different perspective on things, and that's okay, and that we're totally safe, and to be able to do that, and it's not it's not being restricted.
I'll tell you, like, obviously I've agreed to come from behind the camera. So my usual
tell me some of your creative
my usual place
practice
is behind the camera, and I often help people tell their stories. I'm a documentary filmmaker. Yes. I've done that for over 10 years now.
Yes.
I realize there's so many stories and so many amazing people that I've met through the years, meeting you and working with you on some of your community-based projects. There are just so many brilliant stories out there, and I love working on them, and it gives so much to me. Yeah. And I'm comfortable behind the camera doing that kind of thing. And, today is a bit different for me because you said, James, I want you to be one of the creatives that I talk to. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Well, you have a very distinct style as a filmmaker, and it's good to come and celebrate that. Sorry,
well,
interrupt.
Thank you so much. That's So I felt like, okay, I'm going to kind of take a bit of a leap and come out of my comfort zone, which is very much behind the camera, guiding people and helping tell stories and shape things from the invisible other side of the movie magic.
Absolutely.
And now I'm kind of like, okay, what have I actually got to share? So now I'm in a funny place where I'm like, I wonder if I do have anything valuable to say. I've always thought differently to some degree. And now I'm kind of like, actually, you know what? I do feel it's really valuable to think differently. And I think we need to be championing this different thinking and encouraging people to do more of and embrace themselves authentically and embrace their thinking as something really creatively powerful for them, and something that is world changing, really.
Yeah, because it's about creativity and pushing boundaries with creativity, but it's also about pushing thought processes, isn't it? And challenging thought processes.
Yeah, definitely.
And it feels like we need that now more than ever. When things are becoming more restrictive and things are falling away a bit, and we need to be more expressing and feeling okay to express who we are, what we're doing, how we think, why we think the way we do. Thinking differently. And I think we've said this before, that we seem to be quite resistant with change, but actually change is a constant. Change is the one constant we know, and we're always changing and evolving in life. And so our conversation and our thinking needs to go along with that, does it not?
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry.
No, so true. So in terms of how, I guess I'll go back a little bit in my journey, really, as a creative, as someone who maybe thinks differently. And one of the first times I recognized that was probably in high school. I chose to do film studies, I think, at GCSE. And, many of my friends or many of my peers kind of chose film studies because it's great. I get to watch films.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm just going to skip everything and watch films. I had a really great teacher who put on a film. I think it was Blade Runner we were breaking down. The original one, Harrison Ford. Great
film.
And he paused that film basically every 2 minutes.
Wow.
And he broke down every frame and the amount of meaning and the depth he could go into in every single frame of that film. I was like, I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, I've never read film like this.
Wow. I would love to.
I would never read film like this. So all of a sudden I'm getting so much meaning from looking at this in this way, in this different way.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, awesome. Like, and whereas the rest of the classroom were infuriated by the fact he was pausing the film so much.
You just couldn't keep going.
And they were like, we're never going to finish this film. We're never going to watch this film because we do like
How long did it take?
Yeah, exactly. I think we went through like a whole, a whole probably, I don't know, several months, like breaking down this film on that level.
Yeah.
So there was a real slowing. So that's when I became aware of this a lot later, but I realized on reflection what it was doing for me.
Yeah.
It was slowing everything down for me.
Yeah.
Like, so as you know, I'm doing quite well at the moment, actually. You and me have conversations and we speak really fast.
Yes.
And we go through a lot of thinking and we go through a lot of concepts.
Yeah.
And we go back and forth, and I seem to be able to process and talk very fast with you.
Yeah.
And that's possibly, I'm probably coming on to the challenges now, but that's possibly where I've started to recognize I need to slow down all of the stuff that's coming through.
So that's something that maybe you might find as a barrier in the way that you think is that it's all happening so fast.
Yeah.
And you say you process fast, and I find that really interesting because I need time to process quite a lot.
Do you? Yeah.
But do you really feel that you process information very quickly then as you go through it?
Well, so I think, that got me interested in film. And then before that, I've come from, my mum was a teacher. I'm quite an academic person, although I absolutely hate exams. I really don't. I struggled to some degree with the schooling system, but I do like learning. I'm a learner. I love learning stuff. And now
school is very structured.
It is
very restrictive.
So I struggled in that system despite liking learning. But fortunately, I was just academic enough to get through that. And I had my mum who was a teacher and my dad who was a counsellor and psychotherapist. And, I had the balance of my mum kind of saying, you're academic and you should go to university now. And my dad going, well, just do what you feel is right. You're fine. You're a thinker. You can do this. You can think about things and you can work it out. You'll work it out. It'll be fine. So I had that funny balance. Obviously, I was drawn to film. And then I was like, right, okay, I'm going to go and do a practical film course.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was my compromise, was kind of like, okay, no exams, definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to go and make
Hands
stuff.
on, yeah,
I need
absolutely.
to make stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm creative and I can do things and I want to make things now.
Yeah.
So then of course I went and did my degree and had a great time. Again, so much learning there. Loads of theory as well applied. This is kind of what I loved.
Yeah.
And then I quickly came out and went, well, I can't come out into this industry because it often requires going all the way to the bottom and taking a long time to work your way up.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I will be sacrificing a lot of my own creative decision making. I will be, I will be at the bottom of something really big, and that's great.
Yeah.
But my mentality and my own personal feeling was that I'd rather be at the top of something small.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd rather be me and do something small. So I very quickly realized I had to become a freelancer.
Yes, of course, right.
So and work for myself and find the projects I aligned with, find the people that I aligned with. And going through that first few years, you try everything, you do all sorts of things as a creator to try and keep your head above water financially, all these kind of things. And I've learned a lot of things that, I about what I didn't want to do, quite frankly. Yeah. So I learned a lot of ways I maybe didn't like to work.
Yeah.
I also learned
that's a good way of doing things. Actually, is working out what you don't want to do, what you don't like, cutting it out. Then you get to learn more about what you do want.
100%.
I find that a lot in life.
So, and then, slowly I realized the kind of people and places that I really resonated with and loved telling the stories of.
Yeah.
And for me, I struggled a bit as a creative person in a business sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Because,
I
think this is the nature of a lot of artists and
absolutely.
creatives.
That's not how we think, maybe.
No, we come into a place where, effectively it's kind of utilitarian in nature. It's profit and loss philosophy.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I think, a bit anti-human in some ways. And I'm all about human stories.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason I got into filmmaking and what I do. And
I think your filmmaking it's all about that storytelling process, isn't it? Like a lot of the ones I've seen, it's about capturing all the essence of the communities that you've worked with and really, really making that shine.
Yeah. Well, that's where I found myself loving the work the most, was in the small local, although I've worked with big events companies, brands, all of these kind of corporate marketing sphere of the world. I've kind of found such a deep love for the co-creation projects that are based in art within local communities. That's how we met as well. You're rooted in your local community, putting on these really powerful artistic events and bringing artwork. With the paint festival, you bring such color to our city, and it's such an important thing I think everyone needs. So coming closer to home, I realized, well, here's the stories and here's the people that I'd like to work with. And that has been a struggle at times because they're not the biggest projects, they're not the biggest things, but to me personally, they nourish something deeper in me, which I think is really important. And that comes back a little bit into the nature of co-creation and creativity. I think that's really important going forward. And this happens, I see firsthand the beauty of co-creation with multiple minds that are all individual thinkers, all very different thinkers coming together to produce a piece of artwork or have an experience of producing said artwork that then I have to document as a filmmaker. How do I capture the impact that's had on each of these individuals, because they're all impacted so brilliantly by this process.
Absolutely.
And this is a deeply creative process, which is, psychologically transformative for people.
Yeah, completely.
So again, this comes back to why the value of creativity. This project, this podcast, Creative Minds Unpacked. Look, this is creative thinking, and this is why it's really valuable for us right now where we are as well.
And you made me think then about, I know a lot of your work has been around storytelling, and it made me think about, I saw this great talk about storytelling once, and about how old it is, and that we've got stories that go back in time, and it's a really human experience, isn't it? Storytelling. Definitely. It's something that's been passed on. It's gone through generations, and from the beginning of time, everything revolves around storytelling. And then you kind of think about. I'm going into this now, but we look at the AI world that we're living in, and think, are we going to lose that? Well, we can't lose that capacity, because storytelling is vital to existence, right? But where might we go with that? Like it shows that it's more important than ever, maybe, to still tell stories and to have human connection, and to really celebrate that at a time when people are relying more on a digital experience.
Well, the strange thing is the side effects of this digital age that we seem to be in the middle of, quite frankly. We're absolutely in the middle of a technological revolution. I don't think anyone can deny that now.
No, completely.
I mean, in a story sense, I grew up in a time where the internet would sound like a screaming robot down the telephone line. You know what I mean?
The dial-up.
It would announce it was coming into your home.
Yes.
It would announce itself screaming through the wires of the telephone that it was here.
Yeah.
And now we live with it being this omnipresent entity that permeates every wall in our house. Every,
it tries to rewrite your texts.
Exactly.
I find so infuriating.
I know. But it's just there all the time now. And again, coming through school, I had a maths teacher that I think said, you won't have a calculator in your pocket forever. You won't grow up and have a calculator. And I'm like, no, I won't have a calculator in my pocket. I'll have a tiny computer the size of my hand that will connect to the internet.
Absolutely.
So that's how quickly in my lifetime I've seen this rapid technological change. And
it's so fast.
And the thing is, this changes fundamentally our psychology and how we relate with time and stuff. I mean, already there's an idea that our brains are storing information differently because of how we've interrupted stuff with technology. I can't say that I know too much about that, so I won't pretend I do. But I do get the feeling of speeding up. I do get, and you probably get the feeling of speeding up as well. And we talked about this as well, because time's very strange, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very strange.
But that's too deep for now.
I mean, I definitely don't think of it in a linear form. But you're right, maybe that is for another time. But I think, I've lost my train of thought. Carry on.
That's all right. Well, where was I going next with this? I've kind of highlighted the rate of change that has been immense. And now, as someone who works as a filmmaker, I'm aware of it in my industry. I'm even more aware of there seems to be effectively a trust problem now. Deeply rooted in the fact that we can just make anything fake straight away.
Oh, sorry, I see what you mean. Right, I was thinking, where are you going with trust? Meaning that you can't necessarily trust a piece of film anymore.
Definitely.
Right. And so that's not a comfortable place for me.
No, that becomes. I think again, I'm talking about this on a psychological level. Which is interesting already. So everything that I do is rooted in community, in human, in real, in trying to get to the heart of a message, in the heart of a story. And I spend a lot of my time, especially in the pre-production process, seeing this story from multiple perspectives to go, where is the shared heart of that story in that community? And I don't know if I've talked about, I was going to talk about it. I do storytelling workshops now locally with the local council. I've done community storytelling workshops to help local communities enhance their storytelling of why their community organization or event or anything that they're providing.
Is that part of your process when you're making a film, or are you doing those separately? Is that
so that's part of, I suppose that's part of the projects that I work on. But but while I'm making them, so I realized there's a process that happens within me quite regularly when I'm working creatively on films. And it involves really thinking about my own thinking, basically.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And that's why I think I'm in a place where I'm now thinking a lot. I meet you in a place where you're thinking a lot, and we're considering our thinking even more. We're considering why it's different. Why is it important that maybe it's different as well? That's only the question that I've started to ask more recently. But so thinking about thinking is very interesting because it's a process that you call metacognition, basically.
Which is interesting in itself because it's kind of topical.
It is. It's topical on our podcast, and obviously we've spoken about this before, and this is kind of what we might explore.
So metacognition is thinking about thinking.
Yeah, effectively. And already people use this to enhance their creative capabilities, to really enhance their own awareness of their own thinking process.
So like almost like an internal research tool sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're kind of, normally there's about three stages that you go through when you think about your thinking. And they kind of follow this little arc that's very close to how I make films, really. And which is why I'll come on to it. So the first process is obviously planning. The second process is monitoring how it's going. The third process is evaluating, so reflecting on how it's gone. So you plan something, this is what I'm going to do, okay, and then you go to monitoring, this is how I'm doing it, I'm monitoring how it's going. And then you come into evaluating, how did that go? Did that work to plan? Did that go according to plan? What can I improve on? I've become aware of my thinking process like this, and now I can go back to the start and work on what I can improve on. So for me, as someone who was aware of thinking quite differently and having different perspectives, and then also having to take on, as a storyteller, lots of different perspectives. I had to find a way very quickly to communicate with people and work out a way of communicating with people. And that became my metacognitive thinking. I'm gonna plan what I'd like to say to this person.
So this is before you would engage in a conversation.
I'm gonna, and I was someone, I can't say that I was very confident when I was younger. I had to kind of rehearse a phone call before I picked up the phone. Like there's a lot of things in there. So I'd plan what I want to say. I'd monitor how it's going. I'd try and intuitively receive how someone's receiving what I'm saying. And then I'd go back and evaluate as this could be called overthinking, quite frankly, because I'd evaluate on everything I said and how it landed with that person. Did I say the right thing? How did it go into them? How was it working for them? But this is
and what was the result?
What was the result? Did they come back to me and go?
Is it overthinking if you're analysing it in that way?
Maybe not. But maybe it is just metacognition. So anyway, I realised then that process is kind of then applied to the film production process. And the way I learned to make films and the way I continue to make films is with pre-production, production, post-production. So we've got the same 3-act structure. This is narratively, this is story, it's all connected for me. But we start with pre-production. This is where I have to get to the heart of the message. This is where I really need to understand where someone's coming from. I really, as someone that's having the responsibility of making sure someone gets heard, this is a really important responsibility for me.
You're like the sort of vessel, aren't you?
As a thing. One of one of the most beautiful compliments I've ever had for any of my work was when I was doing a guest lecture at the university here in Worcester. And I shared a bit of my work. And one of the students actually said to me, "I think your work is really good because you just get out the way of the story." And I was like, wow. That is such a good compliment because I get myself out of the way of what needs to be said.
Meaning you personally move out.
I don't know how he meant it, but he obviously reviewed my work in some way. And then said to me, you get out the way of the story that's happening.
To allow the story to be told.
So in a way, like I'm just kind of there. And I'm capturing and I'm talking and I'm engaging and I'm present. With someone.
You're very good at encouraging that out of people.
And I hope so,
I think that's a real skill that you have.
I hope
having worked with you multiple times.
But then, and then I allow the story to be what it kind of needs to be for that person, that company, that individual, that, you know, that,
Yeah.
and that kind of leaves a feeling basically, that feels authentic.
Sure.
That feels true. That feels true.
Because you're encouraging the best out of those storytellers.
Because I believe that I want to get to the truth of something and the most authentic expression of it.
Absolutely.
So obviously we're coming into an age where I'm struggling because this seems like a lot of inauthentic expression. In the creative sector, in the art sector, with the digital
advancement, you mean?
with the AI revolution. You know, I'm not completely anti. I can see both sides. That this is a tool at the end of the day. I completely appreciate that. But
it is a tool.
What it is doing for me is highlighting the need to become even more human, if that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we have to, for the sake of humanity, don't we?
Yeah, totally.
Without sounding dramatic, I think it's vital that we, you know, like I think we mentioned earlier, you know, there was a time when everybody was perhaps internet dating, weren't they? And then it became really sterile and toxic and it's some people have great stories from it, so I'm not knocking it, you know, in any way, but like, you know, the real, we started to lose that real connection, didn't we? And actually real, and probably the whole COVID experience had a part to play here, you know, of like losing that human connection. But actually it's more important than ever, isn't it? That we maintain it and we bring it back and more, you know.
Totally. And then I was going to say the next two processes of the film production process, obviously, we went to production. This is monitoring. So I've planned. I'm now actually out there with a camera. I'm monitoring, am I getting everything I need from the story? Am I getting what I need from the person I'm talking to, from the interviewer or interviewee? You know, and more often than not, this comes from a place of instinct or intuition. Often I can have a whole interview and there'll be something that someone says and I go, that's it. That's the heart of the message. That's what it is. That's how I'm starting. That's making the cut. And I'm already editing the film in my mind. So I'm monitoring as I'm working. And then finally we come into the evaluation process, which is post-production. You know, I now get to see all of the footage that I've captured and go, oh gosh, what am I missing? Or, you know, hopefully not that. But most of the time I can evaluate and I can go, oh, I needed a bit more of that. Or I should have had a bit longer on this. Or, you know, I should have captured a bit of that so it would fit with this. You know, so this is becomes this, what some people would describe as a metacognitive process to produce the final article. And I actually think that this isn't intrinsic to filmmaking. I think that actually this is intrinsic to art and the artistic process. And the artist undergoes a metacognitive process of their relationship with the work. And this is interesting for me also because it seems at the moment that AI struggles with what's called true metacognition, which involves a level of self-awareness to really be able to reflect on its own thinking.
So it can't critique itself.
So as humans, we have this amazing ability to reflect on our own thinking. Which is really cool. It gets very deep and could be considered quite complex, I guess. But in essence, it's quite, for me, it becomes like this slowing down of intuition. So often we go off, or people call it instinct sometimes, don't they? We just do things out of, you know,
the thing that feels right.
The thing that feels right. And I pretty much I feel like I was probably followed what I felt right for most of my career.
I mean, I live my life like that. I think that being autistic, that actually, and having sensory and processing differences, I think that's something I've relied on actually as instinct, you know, and I've learned to trust over the years of you know, of working with it. It's an interesting thing, instinct.
And it's really interesting to see in people that do think differently that they are often seem to be more guided by their intuition and general gut feelings of things. And they go off their what people call their gut, and they go, this feels right, this feels wrong. And this leads to probably people coming into the creative sector because when we express ourselves creatively, we just do what feels right. What feels right, you know.
You could really parallel that, couldn't you, almost?
I think so.
Because isn't that how a creative process might develop? Of you're following your how you're feeling about something. Let's say you're making a painting, for instance. You know, that would be something that you would be following, or writing a song, or whatever it is, whatever that creative practice is, it would be following that thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think part of that is also coming to a place of like flow, and people talk about flow state. Lots of artists talk about flow state.
Yeah.
Musicians especially.
Is that like really getting in the zone with it?
Yeah, getting in the zone. Yeah.
Getting a real focus in it.
100%. Musicians get this a lot, I believe. I know a lot of musicians, a lot of friends, and if they can get themselves just into this zone, they can just really, produce some, an amazing experience. And you and me know festivals, and we go to festivals, and you know when someone's in flow, and you're there watching them, and you're like, this is such a good gig. This is so good. Like there's a feeling there, right?
Yeah.
And for me, like even on a, I can be editing to some degree, and I can start to get into a bit of a flow, and I can produce something quite quickly, and it starts to get to the heart of a message quite quickly. And I'm like, okay, so I can tap into this flow state, and it's somewhat linked to my intuition. And then I started I think a lot about things, as you know, and I started to think about intuition, and intuition is obviously inner. So it's inner, and tuition is teaching. So we have this ability to teach ourselves. Nice. We actually teach ourselves, which is really cool. So already we're doing this thing where we're teaching ourselves, and that kind of is coming from all of our lived experiences, all of the knowledge that we've acquired, even if we don't feel like we remember it, we've acquired knowledge, and all of the emotions we've ever experienced suddenly boil down to something that produces in just a feeling, one feeling, and you're like, what? How did that get there? Like, So now I feel like we're getting a bit deep here, because we're going into the territory of like consciousness and all of this kind of debate. Really, it's not. I don't know if it's debate really, but.
I think I'm just going to jump in on intuition, because you made me think then about like instinctiveness, and intuition is such a big part of creativity, isn't it? And you made me think about, I had a spell in my life where I was a visual artist and painting abstract canvas work. And I remember I was making, and through this whole time of me doing this, the way that I would get the best work from me would be like lock myself in a room with a canvas. I used to use my hands a lot, so I'd be really, really like tactile with the canvas and really in it. And, there might be the odd glass of wine involved, of course, sometimes, But I'd be up late at night with like an album that I loved. Music would really have to be there. So it'd be a layer of music, maybe a glass of wine just to, feel a bit more relaxed, perhaps. And then I would literally just let myself go with this canvas, and I wouldn't have any thoughts of where it was going. I would be guided by what was taking place, what my feelings were, Nice. And I really, really enjoyed that part of my creative life, which is a long time ago now, but I felt like I really, I made some, what I felt was, good work. It's hard to say your own work's good, isn't it? But I felt really happy with the work that was produced. But I think that's because it was so instinctive,
That's so true.
You made me think about that. But I think creativity is instinctive, isn't it?
It is. I think it's got to come from that place. I mean, I think about it a lot. I mean, I have way more questions than I do answers. So I'm not gonna pretend that I know anything, because I just ask a lot. I'm just someone who asks a lot of questions.
Yeah, but that's important.
I also think
we need to ask questions.
I also think that's essential now for humans to be asking questions.
Yeah, more than ever.
Of everything, really.
Definitely.
Because one of the things I realized is that it seems that our imagination, or at least my imagination, my creativity, everything seems to be rooted in an intuition that is working in the present, really.
Yeah.
It's a very present experience.
Yeah.
And then again, I looked at kind of digital technologies, and many kind of AI systems are built off, quite frankly, a lot of biased historical data.
Right. Interesting.
So we're going into the past already with a bias on it.
Yeah.
To inform how we think in the present, and no one's questioning that.
That doesn't make any sense.
And no one's questioning that.
Yeah.
And what kind of future does that lead us to?
Not a good one, I don't think.
I don't know I don't know what it would. But the point is,
surely we need to be looking forward and moving with the now, and not taking, I mean, obviously you take influence from the past, right? And like we said, we'll learn what we didn't want, or you take out some of the clutter from that. But to use data from the past to inspire or to inform, which AI is all about, being informed, isn't it? We input the information for it. Then that feels I think uncertain place for me.
Yeah, I think there was a quote, the real danger isn't ignorance, it's the illusion of knowledge.
The illusion of knowledge.
The illusion of knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
which is funny. But that's why questioning becomes really important then.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know where I was going to go with this, but I break down a lot of words and I think about stuff, and I realize that's reflecting on my own psychology.
Yeah.
And I got to a place where I was like, okay, well, what's psychology? What's psychological?
Yeah.
And psyche comes from the Greek word, I believe, is psyche, which is soul, means soul or mind.
Oh, okay.
So you've got psyche, which is your mind.
Yeah.
And then you've got a little O in the middle. O's are great because they're a circle. They look like the portals.
Yeah.
That's just me as a visual person.
Yeah.
And then you've got logical at the end. And I was kind of like, well, what's logical? And it's a reasoning process with consistency. So you get a kind of logic. So if you've been able to reason with consistency, you get a logic. So now you've got psychology, the soul or mind's reasoning consistently, or to understand itself, you know.
Yeah.
And then again, this whole journey really is for me summed up in that kind of ancient Greek maxim of know thyself, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
When we get into philosophy, I know you said you wanted to talk a bit about philosophy on here, and I think a lot about philosophy.
I think it links so well with creativity, and you know, it's about that open thinking. Isn't it? You know, we need to question and we need to think in different ways.
But know thyself, super interesting, because it's about kind of, you know, knowing yourself on this much deeper level. And I think it was I've got a load of quotes in my mind that I can attribute to things, but I think Oscar Wilde said that know thyself was written across the threshold of the antique world. He was referring to kind of the temples, ancient Greek temples of Apollo in Delphi. You know, they had know thyself written across them. He said what will be written across the threshold of the new world would be thyself.
Oh, wow, that's so current.
And I'm like, whoa, that's you know, and you hear this, and again, a very creative person, really creative mind, expressed a lot of things. You know, I think there was a couple of quotes that I came across him when briefly looking at him, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. He said something like, consistency is the last refuge of the unimaginative.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so, and again, we're humans. We're not meant to be consistent. We're not meant to be. We're not meant to be in this utilitarian era of profit and loss, based in this materialist sense of it. Like we're not meant to be. We're focused on what we can put out all the time, and we're focused on maximizing what we can put out. You know, how many videos can I produce? How many is it possible for me to produce? You know, how can I keep up? And, you know, I can't possibly keep up with the speed of AI that's going to produce them now. Because anyone that wants a video can prompt something and get it in like a couple of minutes. And like I'm rocking up with all my kit and setting up and also going through the process of getting to know what someone wants to say. And so I'm like, well, I can't keep up with that speed. There's just no way. And as a human, I'm not designed for that consistency.
Well, no, exactly.
You know, and I think there's a difference between consistency and discipline. So I think it's good to some level to have a bit of discipline, which is the awareness and the choice to be doing something regularly, doing something consistent, making habits. When you become aware of that, you're disciplined, because I'm now making the conscious choice to do this again and again and again. But consistency is somewhat subconscious habit, or at least maybe what I could perceive as being consistent. Oh yeah, you're doing it right every time. Well done. You're getting there. You're just doing it. You're just there. You're just there. And you're present. You're doing it. Whatever. Like there's just a kind of going through the motions with consistency. Whereas there's a deliberate intention with discipline, and being disciplined in your thinking, in your work, and in your artwork. And this is where creatives can get when they become, you know, they can get disciplined in how they create. It's not about being consistent anymore.
But discipline is the word that can be used for disciplining yourself, somebody else, or also it's a word used for a creative medium as well, isn't it? My discipline. You know,
So
there's
many
an interesting word.
We can interpret words, we will. The thing is, we will assign our own meaning to all these words, which is why, of course, it's very difficult communicating. The only way you can really communicate is get authentic as possible and really get clear on what the words mean to you. So, like, again, the other thing I talk about, know thyself. Across the world, before the ancient Greeks, in Japan, there was a religion called Shinto or Shintoism. And I've read a little bit about this because I get very interested in kind of philosophy, psychology, spirituality, these kind of things. And in Shintoism, they still have temples, I believe, in Japan. I've never been, so I can't verify. But the whole premise was that they would have one reflective surface inside this temple, kind of like a mirror.
Okay.
And no real other deities or big things or whatever.
Yeah.
And you when you worship, you go and stand before this mirror.
Okay.
And you're looking at yourself. And therefore the image itself is reflecting you, the deity, the know thyself, the thing, the soul within that. So you're really getting to know yourself at soul level, psychological level. So, and we're coming back to again that psyche, that psychology that seems to be in work, in creativity, and we feel it. And I've had so many projects working with different artists that produce amazing work. And I feel when I've captured that artist and I'm like, that's them. And you
that's
feel when
crucial, isn't it? That makes me think like that is crucial. Like, so I'm someone that can go to, and I'm thinking again, visual arts here, but I can cry at a piece of artwork that I mightn't even know who's done it, perhaps. But I mean, I'm quite a crier naturally. I'm quite an emotional person. So, music can make me cry. I can sob through like seeing my favorite band, for instance, and people are like, for God's sake, you actually watch the band you like instead of sobbing, because it moves me so much. I'm so moved by that kind of thing. And I've done the same with art, in different forms that it can, but that's when you capture the essence of it, isn't it? I don't think I would feel moved and emotional if it was just soulless,
100%.
But actually, if you've got that actual, the embodiment of what that is in a piece of art, then, for it to move people to tears is surely that's, you're achieving the right sort of goal.
100%. I think that's part of human empathy, really. That's something that we need to retain. But also, funny you should say that, because I know you like Lord of the Rings. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Geeky out.
Yeah, a bit geeky, I know. But
I do.
But I love the films.
Me too.
And why I love the films, I was really trying to get to that because I get moved by them. I think they're amazing. I think I look at the leaders in there and I'm like, these are real leaders. These are amazing.
I can't not cry every time Arwen comes on the screen.
So I get moved nearly to tears, or I have done, to be honest, at scenes in Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, there's just an amazing storytelling in here, and what's going on here? What's going on here? So I was thinking about this, and I got introduced, or I came across this theory. It's an ethical theory called deontology, and deontological thinking is different to pragmatic thinking. Okay. So a lot of the time decisions are made.
So what is I can't even say the word you just said.
It's difficult.
Could you explain what it is?
Yeah, I can. So I'll explain
in layman's terms.
I'll explain the opposite of it first.
Okay.
And then and what we often operate by, or at least what I see. I can't say that everyone operates by this because that's just not true. No. But pragmatism is kind of the picking of for outcomes, basically. It's based on outcomes. What's the best outcome I'm going to get out of this situation? For instance, often people think pragmatically, and this comes all the way into society, and we go, even to our elections, we go, what's the lesser of the, what's the best option? They're both not great options, but what's the best here?
It's quite a practical approach.
It's practical, isn't it? It's very pragmatic. What's the best outcome for me in this situation? If I choose this, that would be good. If I choose that, that would be good. Okay, whatever. Okay. Like, that's pragmatic.
Okay. What's the other word? Say it again.
Deontology and
deontology
is what the heroes in Lord of the Rings operate by. They just do the right thing in the present moment without considering the outcome. So
so more influenced by instinct again? Is
again,
that what we're saying?
Comes back to intuition, comes back to instinct. It just comes back to a fundamental knowing of what's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So, you know, Frodo takes the ring, but he doesn't know the way, you know? He just felt it was right in that moment that he do it.
So do we all act on instinct when we think it's the right thing? Or is instinct always the right
Well, again,
pathway?
this is, you're echoing all of my questions now.
Yeah.
So all I'm doing is presenting another ethical theory that I found interesting. And somewhat applied to my favorite thing, Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, oh.
Which again is storytelling.
Yeah, which is storytelling.
So it really brings into that.
Which is storytelling. And I'm kind of like, okay. So now, is there an opportunity to just go off what the right thing in the present is, rather than concern ourselves too much about the outcomes? And whatever outcome comes is the one that will come. But we need to be making sure we're doing the right thing in the present.
I mean, that takes some sort of, I mean, I feel like I'm quite good at doing that to some degree, because I don't tend to think about the outcomes so much.
Yeah.
I think, but
it can get people into trouble.
And it certainly can.
Yeah.
And with lived experience, I would say
exactly.
it can. Yeah. But we won't go into that today. But I think on a different note, like that takes some doing, doesn't it? Because it's quite a frightening thought to think about doing something and not considering outcomes, right? Because it's in our natural protective thing to consider outcomes.
This is
in the sort of constraints of the world that we live in.
Well, that's, you know. So what we witness with it is courage, and that's what comes out of the characters in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, very much so.
So we see this courageous thing, and it inspires us because we're inspired by courage. I can quote a lot of people. I'd probably quote Gandalf: "Courage is the best defense you have now." Like this is so we're going into an age where courage is really needed because we don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. I mean, we are in literally unprecedented times right now. And I think you said before, we are in the middle of something. We are in the middle of a monumental shift that has never happened before. No one really knows where we're going. People don't know where to turn. People don't know what to do. People question a lot of things. You know, we're also a bit divided against each other in many ways, aren't we? And, you know, never before is community so important, and storytelling and talking and communicating as human beings. But also courage being a strong word there, because I think that we are in a time where we need courage so much.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't we?
For sure.
You know, and also I think going back to something you said earlier about people, you know, being who you are, but responding to who you are and being true to who you are. Like, you know, whether that is thinking in a different way, whether that is neurodivergence, whether that is being creative, whether that is just following something that you feel passionate about, or, you know, doing something differently. Like, we need to be who we are. We need to be true to ourselves.
Authentic.
And we need to not be afraid to do that. And actually, I think there's a tendency to be slightly afraid to be yourself because of the world that we live in. And, you know, it can be quite judgmental, and, you know, we're all sort of stuck a bit with this sort of situation. But I think that the more that we embrace ourselves and be ourselves and be true to who we are, and, you know, whether that is following your dream and making the artwork that you want to make, and not really, you know, following any you know, or how you're supposed to do it, if there is such a thing with art, but you know what I mean? Just doing things the way you want to do them. I think that's crucial, isn't it? Now, like, you know, not to be afraid. So that's where the courage comes in. We've got to be courageous to be who we are and talk about what we think and make art that we want to make.
100%. And this is totally why I resonate with you on this project, because people are becoming more aware of their own thinking and their own minds, their psychology, how they relate to everything in the world. And this is really great, and actually what we need, because we need individuals. We don't want, you know, the micro affects the macro, and the micro is made up of individuals. The macro tries to squash the micro by being the system or the box that contains everything, because it can't understand everything being too individual. But actually, as I've seen personally from watching co-creation projects happen in local communities, when these individuals come together with a very different way of seeing, but embrace the creative process that they all share in, beautiful work is created and made.
And isn't that about enhancing others to be or whether it's upskilling in communities? You know, a lot of creative projects and communities around that, aren't they? Upskilling or encouraging others to do things themselves, or encouraging others to, you know, be creative in new ways or whatever that is. And like when you do that, you're empowering somebody, aren't you, to be creative, and in turn to be able to feel more secure in their own skin, you know?
I mean, I struggled with confidence a lot.
Yeah, as did I. Absolutely.
As someone who felt like they saw the world differently.
Yes.
We've spoken about this a lot.
Yeah,
you know me quite deeply now at this point, because we worked on a lot together.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a long time to gain confidence really in myself to some degree, because I've effectively felt I'm seeing things very differently, and this makes me a bit weird. And I probably shouldn't say that I'm experiencing things differently, because it seems that everyone else is
because you might be the only one.
It seems that everyone else is going around and having a good time and having a, you know. And I realized this is somewhat rooted in, again, philosophy for me. I know people come to understand this through kind of neurodivergence and different thinking. I actually came to understand myself a bit more on a philosophical level, because everyone has their own philosophy that underpins how they see the world.
Yeah, okay.
So subconscious.
We all have a unique experience.
We do,
for sure.
And I think most
the fact that we all see colour different.
Yeah,
I know I talk about that.
Yeah, that's so cool. But we kind of get subconsciously introduced to different philosophies, and often it comes from school, because the philosophies that underpin a lot of the materialist science is rationalism and empiricism. You know, we need empirical evidence. You need to be rational in our thinking. We need to do this.
Can you explain the word empirical for me?
Empirical. So, it's kind of like evidence that can be replicated on a material level. So to gain an understanding of a material phenomena, like how an atom behaves or something. Again, I have to say, I'm not a scientist. I haven't trained in science. I'm a creative. I'm a thinker. I ask questions. But I can't say too much about the science of things. However, I recognize the philosophy as empiricism is about the recognition that we can repeat and understand some kind of repeated thing, and that gives it validity.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Whereas the philosophy that seemed to underpin my life and my experience was somewhat more existential. And everyone knows existential crisis. And everyone probably goes, I've gone through an existential crisis or a midlife crisis or some sort of crisis of who they are, what's going on. You know, and I effectively feel like I've probably lived in an existential crisis like my whole life.
But is that because you've been shoved in a box though, James?
Well, maybe because I felt boxed in my thinking, I
think there's a link there for sure. I think you know, and something that, you know, we've talked about a lot on this podcast is like being boxed in, and how do you feel when you're when you're not in that box, and when you're, you know, are you treated differently? Do people expect you to be in a box? You know, I feel like that the lives that we've lived, it's how we've been. We've been, you know, you're shoved in, and, you know, so a lot of us don't fit, and we've spent our lives going, oh, I don't really fit there. But you keep it to yourself because you think you're the only one. And it's only when you start talking to other people, human connection, you know, having that actual real connection and conversation with people, that you discover that you're not the only one. You know, and like that's I know we're going to have to wrap up quite soon, so I just wonder what would be, you know, what would be a really, what could you say about how you feel about being freer from those boxes now? And how might that feed into your creative practice?
Well, I'll just I'll quickly say one thing about the existentialism. This is kind of how we bonded as well, a little bit. So it kind of encompasses two things. Existentialists are somewhat aware of the kind of absurdity of existence. This is just ridiculous. What am I doing here? This is crazy. And then there is an essential nature of experience. So we're here and we're having an experience. That's weird. But we're having an experience, so I guess I'll go with this. You know? And then, of course, the other thing that's in this philosophy, a lot of the time, it explores authenticity and it explores freedom. And I realize, again, how my philosophy impacts my world. I became a freelancer. I'm obsessed with being able to choose, make my own decisions, do my own thing.
And you're very particular about who you work with as well, aren't you?
Well, yeah, you know that.
Which is a great thing, I think.
I'm very fortunate to be able to choose a lot of the time what projects align with me. And to make sure, and also it's more for the benefit of someone else. I need to,
well, that's an instinctive thing.
If I believe in them and their story and their message, then of course I can help tell it.
Yes, exactly.
If I can't connect with them on that level, it becomes very hard for me to communicate for them.
Yes, 100%.
So there is a connection thing that's needed there. Yeah. But what was your question? It was advice or tips?
Yeah, I mean, I think, now you're outside of the boxes that you felt were quite restrictive. How might that impact the way that the world responds to you, but also, so it's sort of a two-part question, but also how do you feel that feeds into your work to make your work resonate that in many ways?
So for me, I guess what it does for me personally is that I get to have an experience every time I go to a new project. And the fun thing is none of my projects are the same. No. I'm meeting different people quite regularly. I'm meeting different thinkers very regularly. I'm meeting different artists, creatives.
I mean, I need that in my working life.
100%.
Like
100%.
I absolutely need that.
It keeps it so interesting and it keeps it so real and a real experience for me to have. And one of the things that I've had to start practicing because, and I think I'm doing it better now, but I've had a lot of thoughts going, as you probably know, rushing through my head, and I seem to think quite fast, and it gets a bit overwhelming, and I probably, burn out or whatever, or just kind of get this sense of like so much thinking going on right now. And again, it comes back to that slowing down. How do I actually slow down and become more present in my work?
Okay.
So
you're able to reassess the way you work and kind of take some of the overwhelm out of it. By really, really slowing down and being present, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. So funny thing. And I'll share a little technique that I do, which sounds really silly.
I'm sure it doesn't.
Well, okay. Obviously, I believe that there are no stupid questions.
Yes, and absolutely.
And I think that if everyone could just trust that there are no stupid questions, we'd ask a lot more questions and we'd get to some better answers, quite frankly. It's true. So don't be afraid to ask questions. One of the questions that I ask myself regularly when I'm stressed, I'm speeding through, I'm working, I'm trying to get things done, is who am I? Where am I? What am I doing?
Okay.
It's really simple three thing.
Really grounding exercise.
And it sounds ridiculous that you'd say this to yourself.
No,
you probably saw me earlier when I was setting up all of these things, and I'm just like, right, okay, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Who, what, where? Or who, where, what? Even. So this is really important. So you start from the center. From who. Who am I? Okay, well, I'm James. I was born in Worcester. I seem to have gone through this whole experience of life, and I'm now, a filmmaker, and I do this kind of stuff. Cool. Where am I? Okay, where am I? Well, I'm in this room. It's got these really nice plants around it. Copper Beach. We're in Copper Beach Brewery and Tap Room today.
Wonderful venue that we're
which
in
is
today.
Such a nice part of my hometown. I feel a connection, a deep sense of rootedness to my hometown. I start to evaluate all this meaning of where I am. So I look around and I'm like, great, there's greenery, this is nice, there's warm lights. I start to associate all this meaning. And then, of course, I look at you, I'm here with you, so I associate all my meaning with you, Kate. Well, I know you're a deep thinker, and we get on, and I feel quite safe talking to you about a lot of things. So I've done kind of who, where, okay, where, and then finally, what am I doing? Well, okay, one of the first times I'm in front of camera and I'm talking with you, and I'm talking quite deeply with you, and I'm expressing, parts of my mind, parts of my psychology are now like on the table, as it were. And I'm now could be, especially because I'm conscious of being recorded. I am being recorded. I'm going to look at this back. I don't know how I feel about it. But
it'll be great.
But, there's now what's happened is I've done this awareness of, okay, well, who am I? Where am I? What's going on? And now that's centered me in a place where I can just talk from where I am now.
Yeah.
I'm not talking from where I've, too much from, I'm not speaking in the past tense. I'm not speaking in the future tense of where I'm going or what's going on next.
Just brought you right back to here.
It's just brought me back to here.
Yeah.
And then doing this I often do this when I'm setting up for shoots, and just reminding myself of the project and the voice and the message and the heart of the story, and the story and who I'm with to tell it, the perspective that's there, who I'm with to tell the story. And that grounds me so much back on a creative sense, but also in such a human way, which then allows me to fully embrace the experience of what I'm trying to do. And that's something that I don't want to lose or miss. No. And, so there maybe is a little bit of a fear of going, can I be replaced by a robot? Can I be replaced by AI? No one's going to hire me to make videos anymore because they'll just go, AI prompt, can you just do me a promo of this and why it was good? Here's a few images of our event, bash a video together.
Yeah, I mean,
in 2 minutes,
I think, again, going back to stuff we've said, I know we need to wrap up now. So I think highlighting the importance of the human experience is vital here, isn't it? But I think that grounding exercise is really, I'm sure that can be really helpful for a lot of people as well who struggle with that overwhelm, especially creatively, So thanks for sharing that with us. I think that's really a really great tip for people, But I think, going forward, and I'm sure we will talk more about this, but, the importance of keeping humanity and being real and not relying on AI to take away what we have as human beings, is vital, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there a place where people could go if they wanted to look up some of your film work, James? And is that something you'd like to share or not share?
Yeah, I mean, if people want to look at what I do, so my website has been down for a while. So one of the things that I'm trying to work on a bit more, obviously you'll probably tell a little bit, is myself, my confidence, my own,
absolutely.
my own presence.
You're on your own journey right now, which is great.
But I have to say, online, I've deliberately kind of come offline a lot because I get quite overwhelmed by a lot of things. And then, but I get a lot of work through word of mouth, and I've had a big enough network now that this just feeds me. However,
so
I do have a Facebook page.
Okay.
Generally I share projects that I've been working on, James Silvanus Films. And again, we'll share the link online if anybody wants to look. And generally anyone I've done work with on the community level, and this is all kind of films that I've shot and produced myself. All from, I'm a solo filmmaker, obviously. I don't know if I stated that at the start, but generally I work solo rather than big teams.
Absolutely.
But what I will say is, so I'm looking at I'm also looking at new avenues for how I create and what I do.
Okay.
I've kind of set myself a kind of crazy goal of writing a book this year.
Oh, okay.
And this is something really strange because I'm a visual person and I've always been very visual. Even at school, I got extra time for my reading speed. I wasn't very fast at reading. I was much more visual processor. That's why I went into film, obviously. But now I've kind of gone back and gone, I kind of like to do something slower, something more grounded. And maybe I'll go back to books. And I love books. I've got loads of them. I don't read enough. I'm trying to read. I'm getting faster at reading. I'm scanning information a lot quicker. It's great. So anyway, goal. I will
that's
produce
something
book.
to watch for then. Watch the space for your
And the final thing was
book.
The other thing, I guess I'm thinking about hopes now and what I could do, was obviously I've done some storytelling workshops. I've done some lectures at university. One of the things I wanted to do was some kind of creativity workshop, which is really in its infancy at the moment. But I'm wanting to hopefully work with some arts people to make that happen. So
if anybody's interested in something like that, maybe they could get in touch with you and or if people have got stories to tell, for instance,
definitely,
perhaps they can reach out to you.
And
I just want to say thanks so much, James, for coming on. I know it was quite difficult for you to get the other side of the camera, and so thank you so much for coming and bearing a bit of your soul and your creative process.
Oh, thanks so much. It's been great.
Thank you. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to this today. If you feel you're a bold thinker, have unique stories or helpful tips and strategies to help others, please get in touch with the Creative Minds Unpacked team. We would love to hear from you.